Welcome to Stockbox here live from Resourcing Tomorrow here in London. I'm very pleased to be joined by Frank Guistra from Fiore Group. Thank you very much for joining us today, Frank.
My pleasure.
How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
And what are you doing here today? What's the sort of objective that you're here for?
I just did a keynote speech about 10 minutes ago, talking about de-dollarization, talking about the gold industry, and talking about how the shifting geopolitical landscape is affecting the metals industry.
Go on then. So what did you say to the guys? Give us some highlights.
Wow. That's the highlight is this, okay? The bottom line is that there's a global competition for minerals, for the energy transition mostly. And that competition means that battle lines are being drawn in many different ways by the key players, being Russia, China, and the US. And you're seeing it manifested in many different ways. China banning the export of graphite. Canada excluding China from investing in critical minerals. The US and Canada creating a joint action plan to incentivize for the exploration of critical minerals. You have talk of resource nationalism in places like Indonesia, talking about an OPEC-style cartel on battery minerals. And you've got a major competition now in Africa, where China was traditionally the biggest investor there the last couple of decades. And now you got the Wagner Group, Russian, getting a lot of these licenses and probably most likely behind some of these military coups that are taking place there. And now the U.S. is waking up to that, and they're trying to get in there and incentive and ask Western investors to go to Africa and compete, which is a very difficult thing to do when you're competing with groups that play by a different set of rules. So the end result is that I think this is going to be a fierce competition. There was already a deficit in place for most of the minerals needed for the energy transition, regardless of geopolitics. The geopolitics just makes it all that more problematic to secure long-term supplies. Then you've got the other problem, which is that a lot of countries, the big copper producers, Peru and Chile, raising taxes on mining companies, toughening regulations. That's happening everywhere. And that, again, is going to make it more difficult for mining companies to invest, especially when you have a lead time of 10 to 20 years. It's difficult to project out that far. So I think it's just, the bottom line is I think we're going to get much higher prices in metals.
Okay. Do you think the West is a bit behind the curve when it comes to securing their supply chains of these critical metals?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. Like I said, China's been doing it for a couple of decades quite effectively. Russia more recently, and the U.S. and the West have just woken up to the fact that it is a competition. And so, yeah, the West is behind the curve.
I mean, this bodes very well for... Well, hopefully, but it bodes very well for the sector, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I was talking to a commodities and trader investor. He's modeled all the mines. He runs a hedge fund. And he told me if we're going to go down the green shift, if we're really going to do it, we have to create the investment of 6 United States of Americas. And we've got to do that in the next 30, but really the next 10 years. And I asked him, well, that sounds pretty good for the mining and investment sector. And you know what he said? I think it will be one of the greatest moments to be alive. Would you tend to agree on that point?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on which side of the ledger you're on. If you're assuming not a great time to be alive, it's going to mean much higher inflation, okay? And that's really the bottom line. Now, if you're a mining company, it's been a tough decade for the miners, really tough. Even when commodity prices went up, the equities didn't follow. I think that's going to change. There's going to be a moment, something will happen, and all of a sudden the sentiment will change.
But that's the key, isn't it? It's that when that moment happens, and you've been in the sector a long time, you build mines. I mean, you've been through the cycles. What is it that's going to give?
I don't know, but I do know this, because I've been doing this for 45 years. I've watched markets come and go, and they come and go. And right now we have that's all it is in this sector. Perhaps the thing that it will change, it'll be, you know, if some of these commodity prices start to really jump where they should be jumping to, given the deficits that we're staring at us in the face. So I think that at some point, the investment community, especially the institutions, are going to go, well, maybe mining, we're going to look at the value. I've never seen value like this in the mining sector in my entire career. When you compare the equity values to the commodity prices, it's crazy. Yeah. So whenever you have such a disparity, it changes. Be patient.
Be patient. As the final thought, Frank, where are you focusing your efforts? Is it on the green metals, the economy, the net zero sort of metals?
No, I'm a gold miner.
You're a gold miner.
I've done it all. uranium, copper. I've done it all, but
So you're very bullish on gold.
100%. That's my favorite topic. I think we're going towards some form of a monetary restructuring of the global monetary system, and I think gold's going to play a role. And you see it by the level of central bank buying in gold the last 13 years, and it's accelerating and setting new records, and that will continue. They're diversifying out of dollars, and they're buying gold. And I think we will get a new monetary system. I don't know what that's going to look like. It could be anything. It could be a gold-backed yuan. It could be a BRICS currency backed by gold. But gold is going to play a role.
Okay. Are you the sort of man who makes a prediction on prices? We're at 2,000 at the minute. No, but
Never. Because all you do, you end up embarrassing yourself.
Exactly,
Why would I do that?
But you think it's going higher?
I think it's going a lot higher.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today, Frank, just from live here from Resourcing Tomorrow in London. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.